What's up, fam? Welcome to a Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat, presented by DraftKings, alongside the newest homeowner in this studio, Jesse Cofield. I am Emerson Lazia. We have a lot more to get to than you owning a home now. Which NBA bets to target on the DraftKings Sportsbook? How about which high-priced guys to stuff inside your lineup around the NHL? We're going to do the same thing for the Millie Maker ahead of Conference Championship weekend in the NFL. It's going to be a good one.
But first,
what?
It's time to get Tucker's takes from Ross Tucker. He is here with us. So we got a big weekend ahead of us, obviously, but let's recap last week just a little bit, okay? So one team on the losing end of things was the Buffalo Bills, as we all know. Stephon Diggs had a lot of drama surrounding him.
A little emotional.
On Twitter, leaving the locker room, he was yelling at Josh Allen on the sidelines. Like, Ross, what went wrong in Buffalo last week? And a follow-up, I want to say, I saw Diggs was, like, responding to people on Twitter and saying, like, oh, well, do you want to be like, okay with losing? Yeah. And it's like, what's your take on that? Because I don't think anyone was happy about the loss.
Well, first of all, Jesse, congratulations.
Oh,
that's a big step. So congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, I always think it's funny when a guy like Diggs acts the way he did in this manner and comes out with the, well, do you want me to be okay with losing? Like, as if he's the only guy on the team that isn't okay with losing. Like, as if all the other guys are like, hey, man, we lost. It's cool. It's all good. Like, no big deal. No, it's called acting like a professional, Stephon. It's called being a business person and realizing you didn't play well. You got your butt kicked. I'll tell you what happened, Jesse. They got their butt kicked up front on both sides of the ball. They got out-coached. They got outplayed. And you got to eat it. And you got to take it. And it tastes terrible. And after the game, you talk to the media, and you say, we didn't get it done. I didn't play well enough. None of us played well enough. All this other stuff. I'm surprised. He's been around a long time. And he's a great dude. Like, when you interview him, and even before the game, he's, like, throwing the ball into the stands to the fans. Like, great guy. And he was very upset, of course, that they lost. He wants to go to a Super Bowl. I get it. But so does everybody else. So act mature about it and handle it like a pro.
Yeah, the yelling at Josh Allen on the sidelines thing really rubs me the wrong way because, like, you know all the cameras are on you. Like, and you know he's already having a terrible time. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was just, like you said, just act like a professional.
Well, speaking of acting like a professional, not quite sure, Ross, what you thought about that last play in the Dallas game there. Like, you're a former offensive lineman in the NFL. Like, did Zeke Elliott show us just how difficult job, like, you guys have on the line to get your hands up? Dude just got absolutely, like, blown up there,
over.
man.
Yeah.
Pass blocking's not easy.
No,
I mean, I love that. I love that. Everybody's making fun of him for it. It worked out great for me. I mean, it showed people how hard pass blocking is. It's like covering somebody in basketball, except you can't take a charge, bro. You take a charge, that's the fastest way for them to get to the quarterback. So that was hilarious. I actually think they had a pretty good idea there on that play, which is to get some O-linemen out in front of Turpin, the excellent returner, and just get some interference out there with some linemen, giving them some blocks, and then let Turpin try to go somewhere. But it's like Turpin went too far downfield and wasn't able to get behind the O-lineman.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever been in that position in your playing days to receive, like, a pitch on just a desperation play like that, some wizardry?
You know, I don't think I have. I don't think I ever did the Stanford band play or the, what does Van Pelt call it? The pitchy woo woo or something. I don't ever remember being a part of that. Now, I did go out for a couple passes when I was goal line tight end in Washington against the Eagles, actually, which would have been sweet. That's my hometown team. I recovered a fumble in the end zone for a safety, not a touchdown, a safety. But no, I would never, like, pitch the ball. By the way, no interest whatsoever. That ball is like X marks the spot. Come kill me. I have no interest in touching that thing.
Hot potato,
that's
dude.
Fair enough. Target on your back. All right, Giants obviously lost, but the fans are probably pleased with the season overall, right? All right, Brian Dable answered some questions for the people, became the most loved man in New York for
Yeah.
a while there. But the offseason questions for the Giants are still pretty big, right? Like, what are they going to do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley? What's the plan here?
I feel pretty good about this in terms of being the plan. I think you franchise tag Daniel Jones, the non-exclusive franchise tag. It's about $32 million for 1 year, and other teams can offer him contracts. And he can sign an offer with those contracts. And if the Giants don't match it, they get 2 first-round picks. I don't really think a team's going to do that. I don't really think a team's going to give up a huge contract to Daniel Jones and 2 first-round picks. So I think that's the way to go for the Giants. He played poorly enough against the Eagles that I don't really want to do a long-term deal. I kind of want to give him another year. Let's watch him. Let's see how much he improves next year in year 200 Daboll. So you franchise tag Jones, and then for Saquon, you just try to get him signed to the best long-term deal you can. You know, supposedly they offered him 12. He wants 16. I don't think he's going to get 16. I don't think he wants to go to another team. Maybe you have to let him go see the market, see that he's not going to get as much money as he thinks, and then ultimately get the best deal in New York to stay.
Yeah. No question under center there for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about Trevor Lawrence. We'll talk about the Jaguars and why they should be favored to win the Super Bowl at another time here, Russ. But what'd you learn about Patrick Mahomes toughening out, like gutting out that performance against the Jags with that high ankle sprain?
Not much.
Yeah.
I already knew that about him. I love that guy. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not sure it's a small margin. I loved how angry he was when Andy Reid said, you got to go get an x-ray. I love that. Like, he did not want to come out of that game. He was trying to plead his case. He was doing what you want your franchise quarterback to do. Andy Reid did what he should do, which is make sure it's not broken and you're not putting him in a real bad position out there. I think everybody did the right thing in that game. He came back, was able to play well enough to win. I love that guy. How can you not?
Yeah, it's true. Well, I didn't love him when he was beating the Jags, but whatever.
Big football
You
guy.
know, is what it is.
All right, now to the game. All right, we know the storyline here. We know Burrow is 3-0 versus Mahomes. Line has jumped back and forth here. It's -1 in favor of the Chiefs right now.
Oh, God, it is going back.
That's after Mahomes was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. Video has surfaced of him appearing to move around pretty well on the practice field. But Ross, like, how badly do the Chiefs need a very mobile Mahomes?
I think really badly. I think it's really hard to be somebody you're not in life. That's what makes him special. That's what makes him great. I mean, if he has to just be like a pocket passer, I don't think it's going to go that well. I mean, I think he'll be fine, but fine isn't going to beat the Bengals. I mean, he's got to be the full Mahomes. I don't think he will be. Even watching him walk down the steps after that press conference yesterday, I know when someone is in some discomfort. He definitely put more weight on that left leg to have like a soft landing on the right. It's still bothering him. You can't trick a trickster. It's bothering him. He's not going to be able to be as mobile as he normally is. Lou Anarumo, the Bengals DC, is incredible. Going to have an awesome plan. Take away the easy early throws from Mahomes. Make him have to move around on that wobbly ankle. I think it's tough for the Chiefs.
Team you've covered all season, though, that's the Eagles, just absolutely laying 38 points on them, man, making it look easy. It shouldn't look that easy in the divisional round. Did we forget how good the Eagles were? Was this a reminder to everybody when Jalen Hurts is under center, like anything is possible with these guys?
I think a lot of people did, yeah. I mean, he got hurt. They lost a couple games with Minshew. He came back, didn't look great against the Giants. They were the best team in football all year. They're 15-1 with him as their starter. They have the most talented team. I mean, they got the best team, dude. They have 18 of their 22 starters are Pro Bowl or Pro Bowl alternate caliber players. They have a loaded team. This is the year for them. I mean, even in this game, they're playing at home with Hurts healthy, against a rookie quarterback. It's a huge opportunity for the Eagles.
All right, let's talk about this game here. Brock Purdy, right? He faced his toughest test by far against the Cowboys. There's reports coming out also that Jimmy G is like close to returning, that he could be ready.
Yeah.
Like, So, Ross, what do you think? Are we going to finally see a very rookie performance from Purdy? Like, when you're looking at this game, the 49ers rank number 1 in pass DVOA under Purdy, but the Eagles have the number 1 pass defense.
So first of all, let's stop talking about Jimmy G.
Yeah.
America, everyone, irrelevant, not playing at all. Jimmy G is the true Mr. Irrelevant. Purdy's good. But I tweeted this earlier today at Ross Tucker NFL. I can just picture this happening. The Niners don't win because the Eagles are really good. It's on the road, tough environment. They're going to come out of the woodwork. See, that's why he was a 7th round pick. See, Purdy's not actually good. No, he's good. He's a good quarterback. I mean, he's not great, but he's a good quarterback. And if he has one bad game, you see Dak's game against the Niners? You see how Josh Allen played? People have bad games in the playoffs at times.
Yo, if they make it to the Super Bowl and Jimmy G can come back, like, what would you do? What would you do if you were Kyle Shanahan?
Purdy.
You would stick with Purdy, or would you throw Jimmy G in there?
I just said
He said
we're not talking about Jimmy G anymore.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just
Emerson,
telling
you're not
you.
listening. They
I am
teach
listening.
you in Broadcasting 101. Listen to the person you're interviewing. I'm done with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
He's not playing. If
Okay.
they win the game that you think he gets them in the Super Bowl, then they're going to put Jimmy G in. He's better than Jimmy G. Jimmy G can go to another team or get another modeling gig or another Subway commercial with his fake grandma and can get out of the conversation.
All right,
Yeah.
who are your picks here in Arizona? Which 2 teams are going to be meeting in a couple weeks when we're hanging
So
out?
I'm a little bit concerned that this is recency bias since they both looked awesome last weekend, but it's the Eagles and the Bengals. I mean, I'd probably pick Chiefs if I thought Mahomes was full throttle. He's not. Eagles, Bengals, should be an awesome Super Bowl.
Okay, and if it's 49ers, it'll likely be Jimmy G under center then.
Okay, you need to. All right, we're gonna leave now. Emerson's gonna think about what he said during the break.
Later, Ross.
Coming up next, we're gonna have our NBA guys on. Kawhi facing the Spurs again after going off for a season-high 36
Revenge
points
game.
last week against his former team. Can he do it again? We'll see.
Six-game slates around the NBA tonight. You are looking at the top price players in DFS on DraftKings for tonight, January 26th, Thirsty Thursday. Welcome, everybody, back to The Sweat. We got Julian Edlow here on the desk now.
Hey.
We got another DraftKings contributor, Gary and Thorne, joining us on the horn. Radio host Mike Mutnansky also here. Kawhi facing the Spurs tonight, Jules.
Whew.
Went off for a season-high 36 points last week against his former team. Revenge narrative alive and well, but Luka and Tatum, 2 of the top-priced dudes tonight. Who was your absolute favorite play in DFS on DraftKings?
Yeah, if we're sorting through the studs here, I would say it's not going to be Kawhi because he's probably a little bit overpriced due to the game that he had against San Antonio. And other people are going to be going right back to him, saying he just had a good game against the Spurs. He's going to do it again. We'll see if he can do it again. Kawhi's had some inconsistencies this season. It's not going to be Jason Tatum because he just played with 4 key Celtics out, inflated the stats a little bit, and now he's coming home with all those guys back against maybe a slower-paced game against the Knicks. So just by eliminating guys off the top, and I don't want Kyrie on the back-to-back. I think the game in Philly last night was more important than this home game against Detroit. It just leaves Luka. He's the most expensive guy on the board, but he's the guy with the least help out of all these guys, and you just go through the game log. I know he's going against the Suns, but it's a shorthanded Suns team, and he's just been doing all the heavy lifting in every stat category. So I will pay all the way up for Luka and find value elsewhere because some of these other studs I'm not all that interested in.
Are you paying all the way up, Mutt?
No, I'm going to pay up at center tonight, guys. I want Vucevic. I want Vuce in this spot, 9K in the center spot. He wakes up and scores 40 DraftKings points. It's pretty easy for him. And I like the upside here. I know he's 9K, most expensive guy at that position, but the Charlotte team has allowed 11 different guys, 11 different centers, 13 or more rebounds. They're 28 in opponent rebound percentage. They give up rebounds by the dozens. I think there is a 60-point potential here with Vuce at the center spot. So I'm going to pay the 9K, build around him. Ownership might be higher, but I think it's worth playing with that price.
Dude, he might grab a rebound per minute tonight against that team for sure. Gerber, who do you like here?
I mean, Jules mentioned that Kyrie's in a little bit of a worrying spot just because this is the second night of a back-to-back. We saw the Nets sort of create a calf injury, a really late calf injury the last time they played on a back-to-back, and Kyrie ended up sitting in that game. So obviously you have to keep an eye on this. That being said, if he's active tonight, I think he's in the best spot of all these high-priced guys. Detroit is the perfect DFS matchup. In January, not only do they have the worst defensive rating in the entire NBA, they're also second in pace. I mean, it's just an offensive wonderland when you play the Pistons. And Irving right now, I mean, people who kind of ran to use him as soon as Kevin Durant went down were heavily disappointed. But his last 4 games, he scored over 30 points in each one of those games, over 50 DraftKings points in every single one of those, including 83.75 against Utah. If he's active tonight, I think he's going to be playing his 36 to 40 minutes that he seems to be locked into when he is active, and I think he's the best per dollar play.
All right, let's move on over to the DK Sportsbook. Mike, give me a player prop that's standing out to you tonight.
Yeah, player props, DFS, all about opportunity, and Derek White gets a big opportunity tonight against the Knicks. DraftKings has assist total tonight in the DK Sportsbook at 4.5. This morning it was plus 125. I just checked; it's still there. I want the over on Derek White assists tonight. Marcus Smart's not going to play. We saw Brogdon not play early in the week. The Celtics rested everybody. They go back to a normal rotation. You're not going to see Peyton Pritchard get 42 minutes. They'll go to a Brogdon and Derek White mix. Great value tonight on the assist number. Give me over 4.5 assists on Derek White.
All right, Gary, give me a player prop that you like for tonight.
I'm going right back to Kyrie. I'm putting a lot of eggs in the Kyrie basket, which is usually not the best way to live your life. Still, like I said, this last 4-game stretch where he's had to be the guy in Brooklyn, I like looking at his points plus assist prop tonight. It's at 36.5. He's cleared this very easily in each of those last 4 games because, as I mentioned, he's scoring well over 30 points in every single one of those contests. Detroit is such an up-tempo environment. Their defense is so bad that it really just kind of elevates every single player on the opposite side of the ledger. I think, again, if he's active tonight, I'm almost penciling in 30 points. So at that point, you just need 5 or 6 assists from Kyrie to clear this thing.
All right, Jules, what do you think looking at the DK Sportsbook player prop that stands out to you?
Yeah, we're kind of going to go in a circle talking about all the same players here because I'm going to take Mutt's favorite DFS play and bring him over to the sportsbook side. Vucevic over 12.5 rebounds against Charlotte. This Charlotte team is just not one that is going to clean the glass, and Vuce is going to do just that. He's coming off just 8 rebounds in his last game, a game that the Bulls blew a 21-point lead to the Pacers. But you look at the 3 previous games, he went over 12.5 rebounds in all 3 of those. He had 13 in his previous matchup against Charlotte this season. As long as he stays out of foul trouble and he's on the floor, I'm expecting well into double-digit boards for Vuce.
Hey, Gerber, next at the Celtics here. These 2 teams tend to play low-scoring games in Boston versus each other. So the under has hit 4 of the last 5 meetings at TD Garden. Which game total are you going to target tonight?
I'd lean the over there just with how bad the Knicks defense has been since Mitchell Robinson got hurt. However, I feel more strongly about sort of waiting a little bit on this Charlotte-Chicago game that we've been talking so much about. And one of the reasons that Nikola Vucevic is going to clear that rebounds prop tonight is the last 3 games Charlotte's played without LaMelo Ball, their offensive rating is just 103.9. That is like mid-90s level offensive efficiency. They cannot score when LaMelo Ball is not playing. So if he's ruled out again, this is the highest total on the board. I think I would take the under. Conversely, if we find out that LaMelo Ball is going to play in this game, it's just going to be a really high-tempo contest. Both these teams top 10 in pace across their last 5 games. If LaMelo is playing, I'm taking the over. If he's not playing, I'm taking the under. It's really that simple.
Which game total grabs your attention tonight, Jules?
Yeah, I'm looking at Clippers and Spurs, obviously the biggest favorite of the night. We got a game total there set pretty high because San Antonio is involved in that game, and they are an over team, 234, the number on that game. But let's remember what the Clippers do at home here. They are 19-4-1 to the under at home this season. And when you have this type of matchup, a Spurs-Clippers type of matchup, I defer to the favorite, the heavy favorite in this game, to kind of set the tone. So if the Spurs are playing defense, I think that sets the tone for an under more than San Antonio just getting out there and running their pace. They're on the second night of a back-to-back. Yes, it's in LA, so no travel, but second night of a back-to-back, so maybe tired legs there, miss a few more shots for the Spurs. I think this one has the potential for a Clippers blowout and just kind of missing shots late. I think that just given the record of the track record of how the Clippers play at home this season, it's hard to see a team with the talent of San Antonio coming in and playing their way and getting this game over.
For sure. Spurs with the worst defensive rating in the NBA. What game total you like tonight, dude?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to do something dumb. Maybe this is not as dumb as leaving my cell phone in an Uber in Kansas City.
Whoa,
That
whoa,
is dumb.
Hard to
whoa.
top that,
Why,
man.
you woke
I'm gonna
up
go
and chose
against-
violence?
Hard
Relax.
to top that.
He also
Listen,
left his pants in the
it was
Uber
a
because he's
random
wearing shorts right
It's
now.
back.
Reference. Well, it has nothing
Hello?
to do with you. Random reference. Oh, he's got it back. Good. He's got his cell phone back. Good.
Yeah.
The reverse line movement is live here for Celtics Knicks, the games that you mentioned there, Emerson. There are 73% of the bets are on the over. The line has gone the other way to the under. And it usually means that the sharp money is on the under. I'm going into the sharps. It's a dumb move by me. Give me the over tonight. Celtics and Knicks started 126, now 123.5 DK Sportsbook. And my thesis here is Celtics are rested after resting a bunch of guys early in the week against the Heat. No Mitchell Robinson for the Knicks in the front court. No Marcus Smart defensively for the Celtics. Celtics put up 133 points against the Knicks back in November. I'm going to go against the smart money here. Give me the over. Celtics Knicks tonight, 7:30.
Okay.
All right, guys, finally, Mavs Suns, just a 1-point spread. Clippers, big 12.5-point favorites over the Spurs. What is your favorite spread tonight, Julian?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm going to have a side in the NBA tonight, so I'm going to circle a spot for you to watch out for. Last night, the Houston Rockets got up big on the Washington Wizards at home. This is something they have done a lot this season. The Wizards were plus 10.5 in that game at halftime. They won the game outright. Houston is at home again tonight hosting the Cavs. The Cavs are 8.5-point favorites. I don't know if I'm going to lay 8.5 there, but keep an eye out for Houston getting off to a strong start in this game and just bring it back with the Cavs live in that game and get yourself a better price. This Houston game script has been like, we're getting to a nightly occurrence where they come out, get a lead, particularly at home, and then blow it. It happened just last night and against a better Cleveland team tonight on the second leg of a back-to-back for Houston. I would not be surprised if it happened again.
All right, Matt, what do you think looking at the board, favorite spread tonight?
Yeah, I'm with Julian here. I did not love the board from a side standpoint tonight. I should land on the same game that he talked about, and I'm gonna swallow hard here and lay the 8.5 points here with the Cavs against a terrible Houston team. You mentioned the second part of a back-to-back, second worst team in the NBA against the spread this year, just 18, 28, and 2 ATS. The Rockets are not very good. Donovan Mitchell's got a questionable tag. He played Tuesday. I suspect he'll play tonight. If he didn't play, I would not touch this game. But if he plays, I'll take Cleveland trying to get back after their loss against the Knicks. I'll lay the 8.5 against a terrible Houston team, as Julian mentioned, on the back-to-back.
Darian, what are you doing here?
Yeah, there are some big lines tonight, some wonky lines. So I'm just going to I'll go full SpongeBob and just pull out Old Faithful here, which is bet against the Mavericks when they're on the road. The Mavericks are 7-16 ATS on the road this season. They are 8-22 ATS on the road, their last 30 road games overall. They tend to just stink on the road, and this line's actually moving in Dallas's direction. It was 1.5 half an hour ago, so now it's just 1 point. I'll take Phoenix, who is looking a lot more like Phoenix as of late. Chris Paul's been back for 2 games. Obviously, DeAndre Ayton probable tonight. Seems like he's going to return from a 3-game absence. Cam Johnson's looked good since he's come back into the mix. I think Phoenix is a lot more like Phoenix than they were 2.5 weeks ago. And like I said, Dallas just stinks on the road.
All right, well, you three do not stink. I appreciate the help.
Thanks.
You're excellent. Good seeing you, Mutt. Good seeing you,
Bye,
Garrett.
guys. Have a good day.
We got to take a break. We'll do some DFS stuff around the NHL coming up, like Steven Stamkos, 6 goals in 4 games for crying out loud, including the 500th of his career. Is he the guy to roster tonight? Is he actually a value play? $7,500 on the wing. We'll talk to our NHL panel coming up.
All right, you are looking at the top 5 DFS plays for today's slate. These are the dudes that are going to cost you the most cash. So are our dudes going to slot them into their lineups? We'll find out. We got RotoWire's Paul Bruno and AJ Scholes here to lay it down for us. So let's start with who you want to put in at the center position. Paul, who's it going to be?
If you're going to go high end, I look at Jack Hughes for the Devils. He's on an absolute heater with 4 goals, 7 helpers in his last 6 games played tonight against a Nashville club that's not too tight defensively. That's going to cost you $8,300. And I know Jamie's AJ's going to talk about the rivalry game, Pitt and Washington. Crosby's of interest to me, but I'll let him get the words out there. Kadri for 6,100 versus Chicago. That's money. 5 goals, 3 helpers in his last 8 games. He's going to get a lot of quality ice time against the Hawks tonight. Dylan Larkin against Montreal. He's on a good streak himself. 2 goals, 7 helpers in his last 8 games. So there's a bunch of guys in the mid-range. Larkin is the last one, $6,000, that are all attractive to me tonight.
All right, AJ, talk to me about who you want in your lineup at center.
Well, Paul's right. The rivalry game between Crosby and Ovechkin is off and running tonight. And while I try and limit the pen stock here so I don't sound like a homer to Paul's level, who can't get through a show without talking about the Leafs.
They don't even play tonight.
I do think Crosby makes sense tonight. He's put up 85 points in 65 career matchups with the Capitals. Not to mention, Crosby comes into this game on a hot streak with 5 points points in 5 straight contests. It's certainly worth considering Crosby even at the high end of the price list tonight.
All right, breaking news. We have NHL.com's Pete Jensen joining the program. He's here, and he's here to tell us who the best center is tonight to slot into his DFS lineup.
Better late than never, right? I like Pierre-Luc Dubois for the Winnipeg Jets. It's a right matchup against the Buffalo Sabres, who score a lot of goals, but also outscore their problems on a nightly basis. So the shot volume generation has been excellent for Dubois over his past 5 to 10 games. He plays with Kyle Connor at even strength. He's one of the most underrated category cogs in all fantasy formats, in my opinion. And he's, there's been so much like trade speculation with this guy over the years. He's settled in nicely with the Winnipeg Jets. Not too many people are talking about it, so I would roll him out.
Hey, Pete, we mentioned before the break, looking in the wings and things department, like Stamkos has, 6 goals in 4 games, but that's a tough matchup against the Bruins tonight. Who do you want at wing?
In my mock lineup, I have Brad Marchand. I have Arturi Lehkonen. Obviously, a dominant matchup on paper against the Anaheim Ducks, and he plays on the power play, top 6 exposure. And then I also have Adam Henrique. Not many people, I'll go against the grain. I'll go Adam Henrique just because he's really heating up. He's on a 6-game point streak. Anaheim Ducks are one of the worst teams in the league, but he's playing on a line with Troy Terry, who low-key is one of the better even-strength point producers in the NHL over the past 2 seasons combined. I've seen Adam Henrique break the slate in DFS before. I've seen him, whether he was on the Devils years ago or the Ducks in recent years, here and there, he'll go on a heater and win somebody a fantasy championship, mess around like that. So Adam Henrique is a nice value pick on the wing that I would ride the hot hand with.
What's the move at wing, AJ?
I mean, if you're buying into the Crosby versus Ovechkin narrative, then I think it makes sense to go to the other side and take Ovechkin at 8,600 here. Similar to Crosby, he steps up in these games. He's got 37 goals and 32 helpers in 70 career matchups. He's looking like a near lock to reach that 50-goal mark this season, and he should produce against a shaky Pens goaltending situation, likely Casey DeSmith tonight, but could be Dustin Tokarski. The important point is that it's not going to be Tristan Jarry, so the Caps could put in some goals tonight.
All right, Paul, how much money are you going to spend at winger?
I'm going to spend a couple of bucks and send AJ some Kleenex for tonight's game, I think. Arturi Lehkonen for Colorado, $5,900. Pete's all over that, and I agree with that. 6 goals, 2 helpers in his last 6 games. Kaprizov, again, in a mismatch against Philadelphia, $7,600 there. 4 goals, 5 helpers in his last 7. And finally, Kyle Connor for Winnipeg, $7,300 versus a Buffalo team that's given up more goals than they'd like to. 4 goals and 3 helpers in his last 7 games.
All right, take us to the blue line. AJ, a lot of options here. Roman Josi, $8,400, by far the most expensive guy. You paying all the way up for him?
I'm not, because there's a pair of guys who I think are underpriced. And while I don't mean to just go back to the same matchup, it's Chris Letang and Eric Gustafsson at 5,100 and 4,600 respectfully. They are the power play quarterbacks for their number 1 units on their teams. Letang, obviously, with that huge game back after returning from injury, you could probably go for one or even both of these guys at those price tags tonight. I think they're both solid options as number 1 power play quarterbacks for under 5,500.
All right, Paul, what's your take here? Who's the best defenseman to slot into your lineup?
Look, in the last couple of weeks, nobody's been hotter than Dougie Hamilton. I'm going to ride that wave. He's got 4 goals, 4 helpers in his last 7 games. $6,900 the price tag, a little bit higher than I like to spend on defensemen. A couple of cheaper options. Moritz Seider, 8 points in his last 8 games. I think there's going to be a shootout in Montreal tonight. He costs $5,500. And finally, Justin Falk has really taken over as the top scoring defenseman option in St. Louis. They've got the soft touch against Arizona tonight, and he's got 4 assists in his last 3 games.
All right, Pete, what's your strategy on the blue line?
I feel like not too many people, not as many as they should be, are talking about Charlie McAvoy being a Norris Trophy contender, and he's up to 30 points in 34 games. Look at the Boston Bruins' dominance of the entire NHL this season, including the Tampa Bay Lightning. They won both of the matchups so far in the head-to-head series. This seems like a team of destiny. We'll see if they can deliver when it matters most in the playoffs, but for now in the regular season, McAvoy is a borderline top 5 defenseman fantasy-wise in any format, and I just love how he shoulders such a heavy workload every night. He picks up the shots by accident, the block shots. The points have been there more times than not, and he's just one of the unsung heroes. I feel like all those elite options on the Bruins overshadow him a little bit, so he's a lineup lock for me this season.
All right, Paul, bring us home with your favorite value play tonight on DraftKings for this NHL slate.
Kirby Dach for the Canadiens, $3,900. He's earning top 6 minutes with the Canadiens, playing his best hockey of the year, 4 goals and 3 helpers in his last 7. Dylan Dubé up on the first line for Calgary, scoring well, 3 points in his last 2 games since he got that promotion. Against the Hawks tonight, costing $3,800, top my list. And I also give a shout out to Andre Palat, playing alongside Jack Hughes. That's a stack opportunity. He'll only cost $3,800. He's got a goal and 3 helpers in his last 5 games.
All right, Pete, where are you going here for a value play?
I'll go with the Calgary Flames wing, Andrew Mangiapane. He's heating up lately. The Flames have been a disappointment overall this season, especially offensively. Jonathan Huberdeau, people are talking about this morning in our fan questions for Fantasy on Ice. Should we drop this player? He's off, ESPN's can't cut list, all this stuff. Don't forget about some of the sneaky value in this Calgary offense that does roll 3 strong lines. Tyler Toffoli's having a career year, and Mangiapane was an elite goal scorer last year, and I love the price point for only $4K in DraftKings.
Okay, AJ, who you got at the top of your value list?
Basically the St. Louis Blues. They're facing Arizona tonight. There's a number of guys here that come in under 5K. Robert Thomas, Shen, Brandon Saad. But of those 3, Saad is my guy I'm looking at. 4,100 here. 3 points in his last 3 contests. He's been pretty streaky this year, so he could go cold at any point, but it's an excellent matchup for the St. Louis Blues facing off against Arizona. So there's a number of guys that are in play.
All right, thanks, fellas. Good stuff. Coming up, we're going to break down the 2 NFL Showdown contests available on Sunday on DraftKings. Do you captain a quarterback? What's the play here? Our analysts will let us know.
Did you hear there are a couple football games this weekend?
I heard.
They
I
are,
did.
They are to decide the champion in each conference in the NFL.
Wow.
And now it's time to decide who you should stuff inside those DFS lineups on DraftKings. Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, top of the morning to both of you. We need your help here. I say captain for this Eagles 49ers showdown. And Jeff Ulrich, you say...
AJ Brown.
Woo!
Let's do it. Let's go. Yes, I love this one. AJ Brown coming off a slow game against the Giants. Now he takes on a San Francisco secondary who has had its issues against opposing wide receivers ones. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys lost that game, but my God, CeeDee Lamb certainly did whatever he wanted, put up a monster performance there. And I think what you're getting now is, you're starting to get people realize Devonta Smith is a really good wide receiver, and he is, but we're talking showdown format here. We need those touchdowns. And A.J. Brown is the touchdown maker, 11 career high with Jalen Hurts here in this matchup. I think this is a spot for A.J. Brown to really shine and potentially really just take the reins here and get the Philadelphia Eagles into the Super Bowl. I think where you're going to see from Philly, they're going to get stalled out a little bit in spots, in the run game, tight end, very good, just sort of cover down underneath defense against San Francisco. Where they're not good, it's on those corners, and I think that's where the Eagles will win this game. A.J. Brown, I'm going to call him right now. I'm going to say 2 touchdown game for A.J. Brown.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, that got your attention, Pierce. I saw you not paying attention until he said that.
I was thinking about what he was saying. It's true, A.J. Brown is the more talented wide receiver. I am also on the wide receivers for Philadelphia. I'm going to go with Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the matchup. San Francisco, as we all know, has a very solid defense, very strong pass defense. Where they really excel is against wide receiver number ones. And you could make an argument that there isn't technically a wide receiver number one for Philadelphia. They're going to move their receivers around. Brown and Smith both go into the slot from time to time. So it is kind of a bit of a fool's errand trying to predict who's going to be the number one guy, who Travarius Ward is going to team up on. Even Jimmy Ward out of the slot in the cornerback role for San Francisco has played pretty well this year. But where you want to go is against Diomedore Lenore. He had a big interception last week, but overall he has not been a good cornerback. So the wide receiver 2 spot has been a weakness for San Francisco. And I'm just hoping that it's going to be Smith that lines up more often than not against Lenore. And Jalen Hurts, although A.J. Brown is the better target, has shown over the last month or so that he's more than willing to go to Smith. Smith's getting more of the targets. Smith is getting a lot of the targets. Jeff could be right. A.J. Brown could be the guy that finds the end zone, but it's not that far apart. It's very close. It's hard to say who's going to be the winner in the end, but I think we're both on the same page and the right page in targeting the Philly receivers.
Yeah, for sure. Last 7 games, Smith averaging nearly 22 DK fantasy points over that span. I know doing the slate last night with Jeff, he's not totally like anti-Devonta Smith either. I know you liked him on the sportsbook side of things, Jeff. It's like an anytime touchdown scorer too.
He definitely had better odds on the anytime touchdown score, so we definitely talked about him last night. But again, if you're chasing those bigger odds, especially for DFS, again, it's hard to look past what A.J. Brown has done in the red zone and just as a touchdown scorer this year. Yep. So really good matchups for both. I mean, we don't have to look too far back for Travarius Ward, who got his, proverbial, he got burned by DK Metcalf in the game prior. So good matchups for both guys. One of these guys probably going to, be a necessary. Wouldn't shock me if one of them is just complete necessary to win anything in Showdown this weekend.
All right, well, captain spot, obviously 1.5 times the salary, 1.5 times the points. Mm-hmm. But you also need some value in there. And maybe like a contrarian play that's going to set your lineup apart. So, Pierce, who are you looking at for that?
I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell. I know what people are going to say. Oh, well, Gainwell scored those points last week because the game was out of hand. That was garbage time points. He's not their main running back. And I get that. I understand it. But how many times have we seen a coach put the third string running back in or the second string running back in? They have a big game and a mop-up role, and then the next week you see the guy at the top of the running back rotation. And this is not necessarily a team that has a solidified running back rotation. The Eagles have been doing this for years, 2-headed monsters, 3-headed monsters. I would not be surprised to see Gainwell be the main guy. And even if Gainwell isn't the number one running back, he's going to get work. And then even beyond that, when it comes to goal line carries, anyone's bet is as good as mine who the Eagles are going to give the ball. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is going to be the first to eat. But when it comes to running backs, we have no idea what running back is going to find the end zone. If you predict the right one, then you're going to have a huge advantage on the field. And I think this is going to scare a lot of people away. No one wants to go near, well, what running back is it going to be for Philadelphia? That's an opportunity. Yeah, it's risky, but you definitely have a great way to get a value pick and separate yourself from the field. And I'm not afraid of taking Gainwell after a meaningless game.
Yeah, Jeff, what do you think for your value / like contrarian pick for this game?
You know, I know Pierce didn't show up yesterday and he made Buchanan work sick, but I really do like that pick. So we're very much on the same page today. We're getting along. We're buddies again. I like the Eagles defense at 3,600. And I know this is a pick Pierce will get behind as well, but it's a team that led the league in sacks. Obviously, you know, pressure rate, 5 sacks in the game against the New York Giants. And this is just a pick again. You're thinking showdown purposes. You're thinking, you know, just a lot of people just making casual lineups. It's conference championship. Do you really think people want to pick against Brock Purdy in this situation? The Eagles defense, I don't think is going to be super highly owned. I'm sure there'll be some, you know, so-called sharp people who get on this play, but I think you'll see the ownership capped at a certain amount. It's also a DST, and we do have some players down here to pick from in terms of, like, you know, skill positions. But I think the Eagles, you can work in with just, you know, their offensive players. I think there's a real chance where you get in a late game scenario, the Eagles grab a pick. You know, they end up with 4 or 5 sacks late in the game as well, where Purdy's having to drop back. So it's no guarantee. There's just like, you know, like the Kenneth Gainwell pick, there's some risk involved here. San Francisco's a good team, but, you know, when we're this deep, we only have so many options to pick from. And we're predicting a bit of a lower scoring game. I think the Eagles DST has a lot of chance to pop up with double-digit points again.
Jeff, let's go to the late game here on Sunday. So we're talking Bengals at the Chiefs. Mahomes, the most expensive in the captain spot. And you have Kelsey, who's even more expensive than Joe Burrow here. So what do you want to do at captain?
I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. I think that Chase is in a very, very good spot this week. You know, he was really efficient against them in the first game they saw this year. 7 catches, 97 yards on 8 targets. Now, you know, a lot of the reason why Chase didn't necessarily explode in that game, the Chiefs played more zone. They didn't bring a ton of pressure in that game, and it did limit the big plays in a sense, but it also just let Joe Burrow absolutely slice and dice them. I think what you're going to see from Kansas City in this game is taking more risks, and I think what that's going to lead to is Jamar Chase getting loose for a couple big plays. And you know, you look at what Kansas City has done against wide receivers this year. They have a really good secondary, but it's young. And they do give up a lot of big plays, 22 touchdowns, second most in the league allowed. I think this is a spot for Jamar Chase to potentially even just take some of the spotlight back from Joe Burrow, who's been getting a ton of credit here. I think Chase makes his mark against the secondary. I think he's going to be a little bit too much to handle, especially if they start leaving their corners on more one-on-one situations, which I think they're going to do. So give me Jamar Chase, 15-6.
All right, who do you want in that top spot, Pierce, for this showdown?
Jeff and I are on the same page again. So anyone who's familiar with the show, anytime that we agree,
Yeah.
basically everything means you need to go full on fade, to go in the opposite direction, running and screaming away from us. He's going to take Chase. I'm going to take Joe Burrow. You got to throw the stats out. This is big game Joe Burrow in a big game. Kansas City can sack him 10 times. He'll get up 11 times and still go out there and complete passes. He doesn't have to, you know, lead a scoring drive on every single drive. But when he does, he gets it into the end zone and he gets his team into victory lane, as I like to call it. Look, I think you got to throw out the stats. You got to just trust your eyes, go with your gut. We watched him perform big time last week. I imagine he's going to do the same thing. Kansas City's defense is good, but it's really nothing to be completely terrified of. Their pass rush isn't that great. We saw Cincinnati's offensive line, whoever they slot in there seems to get the job done, and I don't even think you really even need offensive line. Joe Burrow is just going to make things work. His receivers are going to make things work. I don't expect Joe Mixon to have a big game, and if the Bengals are favored, then that means Burrow is going to have to carry this team.
All right, Pierce, how about your value / contrarian pick for this one? Where are you going?
I'm going to go back to Jerick McKinnon. I'm kind of doubling down at this point. It's like back alley betting. I'm betting on the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors at 2 a.m. That's got to keep doubling down. But nothing has really changed. Sure, Jerick McKinnon didn't work last week. But if you looked at what the last 6 games heading into that, he had 9 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, that hot touchdown streak started in a game against the Bengals. Everything that McKinnon does is perfect for the situation. You have a hobbled quarterback in Mahomes. He's going to be very limited. That means Andy Reid is going to have to dig deep into the bag of tricks to find some way to be a very solid defense. Just running the normal West Coast offense, that's not going to get the job done. Passing to his above-average receivers, that's not going to get the job done. He needs McKinnon. He needs trick plays. He needs, all the crazy things that Reid can dial up in the red zone. And I think you're going to see McKinnon get in the red zone or get in the end zone at least once, maybe twice. You go back to that Bengals game, he scored a touchdown. He also had 6.5 yards per carry on 8 carries. I know the Bengals are good against receiving running backs, but I don't expect McKinnon to play the regular receiving running back role. It's going to be more gadget plays. It's going to be trick plays. He'll be in the slot. Andy Reid's going to have him in a unique position because he has to, because Mahomes is limited.
Yeah, this dude had 2.5 fantasy points last game, so let's hope he's got more next time out. Jeff, who are you rolling with?
Look, we only got a couple games left. Let's go crazy with Noah Gray. Let's get a backup tight end there. We've tried to stay away from them. We've tried to be sane, but this is actually a pretty good matchup for the tight ends here for Kansas City. And obviously people are going to be focusing in on Travis Kelce this week, but Noah Gray has caught a pass in 5 straight games now. Actually, it goes back way further than that. He's basically a part of this Kansas City offense, to the point where, like him not catching a pass would be almost like it would almost be a bit of bad luck. 2 targets against Jacksonville, averaging, again, over his last 3 starts, about 20 yards per catch or just under that. So, the touchdown rate this year hasn't been great. 2 touchdowns on the season, though. And you just wonder, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals team, allowed a big game to Isaiah Likely. Dawson Knox caught 5 passes last week, went over 35 yards. If Noah Gray catches a couple passes and he finds the end zone once and Kelce stays out, that's the kind of leverage that you're looking for when you're making these showdown lineups. He's only 1,400. If he was up to 24 or 3, I wouldn't be recommending this. But I think he's at a price point where you look at his usage and you say, this could easily be a player who finds the end zone and ends up with like 12, 15 points. So I think Noah Gray is in play. I think it's a good matchup to use him as well down here because, again, all the other options, Watson, Sky Moore on the Chiefs down here, they're really not getting targeted at any more or less a rate than Noah Gray is. All
right, speaking of who's in play here, let's go to the DK Sportsbook, a player prop you like at the moment. Yesterday you mentioned you'd like over Pacheco's rushing yards, Jeff, 47.5. You sticking with that?
I do like that, but I got something way better for you now.
What do you got?
Let's get a little crazy. Again, we got 2 football games left. We got to find something a little bit better in the odds than that. I'm going with Trenton Irwin for an anytime touchdown.
What?
This is a player who, again, 25 snaps last week, but 2 targets, tied with Tyler Boyd there. Since week 11, Trenton Irwin has 5 red zone targets. That's the same number of red zone targets that T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd has. You look at who he's going up against, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've allowed 7 touchdowns to the wide receiver position in the red zone this year. That's the 2nd highest rate in the league. Irwin is just a guy who's got a penchant for a touchdown. He's got a 17% touchdown rate on 23 targets this year. This is a player who's specifically designed by the Bengals to bring in 4 wide receiver sets to be used in that red zone position. I think he's going to score this week, and you can get nice odds, as we just showed up there on the screen, around plus 600 for Trenton Irwin. So give me a Trenton Irwin anytime touchdown this week. I think he's going to be a bit of an unsung hero in this game.
Pierce, a player prop you're feeling right now on the Thursday before the games.
Patrick Mahomes has thrown interception. This is my trademark bet. And Mahomes has thrown 12 interceptions this season. Cincinnati has an opportunistic defense. More importantly, Mahomes is limited. He's not at full strength, and he's got a receiving core that also limits him. These are not really separation receivers. When you go through the wide receiving core for Kansas City, yeah, they're above average, but are these the guys that you're thinking, oh, they're going to completely separate from the secondary? No, they're going to be highly contested passes every time. Pat Mahomes is going to be constantly under duress. He's not going to be able to run around and scramble to help create separation. So you give me 40, 45 passes of contested passes, he's absolutely going to throw an interception.
All right, good stuff, you two. That is a show. Obviously, we will discuss more tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. But don't forget, the slate is coming your way this evening at 5 p.m. with Kaufman and Garion. As for us, see you tomorrow.